Hi, I'm Harry Rock, and welcome to another edition of Westfield Council on Aging Presents. This is a collaborative effort with Tina Gorman, Executive Director of the Westfield Senior Center, and Pete Coles, who is the producer of WCPC Westfield Cable Channel 15. Our topic today is shopping rights, and our guest is Robin Putnam, who is the Research and Special Projects Manager for the Massachusetts Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation. We will be discussing the role of the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation, as well as return policies. What is the truth in advertising? What is bait and switch? What is an implied warranty? Can you return defective merchandise? Gift cards and gift certificates, and how to resolve a complaint with a merchant. Robin has been with the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation since 2015, serving as its Events and Outreach Manager. And in her role within Consumer Affairs, she has conducted over 600 lectures in 215 towns and cities in the Commonwealth, planning, coordinating, scheduling, and participating in a wide variety of events to provide consumers with the information that they need. So, Robin, I'm thrilled to have you on the Zoom call today. You're calling in from Salem. Your office is actually in Boston, but you're calling in from your home office in Salem. So we don't blame you for driving all the way out here to Western Mass. But nice to see you, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Nice to have you invite me. I'm very happy to be here. So yes, I work for the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation. We are a state agency located in downtown Boston, 501 Boylston Street. And part of our job is we have 5 agencies that are underneath the umbrella of Consumer Affairs. We have a division of banks, insurance, professional licensure, telecommunications and cable, and standards. So if you ever have an issue with something, whether you don't understand your cable bill, you can actually call our office. We have a consumer hotline that's run Monday through Friday from 9 to 4:30. It is not automated. You will actually get a human being who will answer. I know, it's insane.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm proud to say that even during the pandemic, we were answering the phones Monday through Friday and answering hundreds of calls. I'm sure everybody can imagine that. But part of my job is to get out into the communities and get information to consumers, whether it be about the home improvement contractor law in Massachusetts, or what happens if you buy a lemon for a car in Massachusetts. And we also run, the data breach reporting. So if there's a data breach and it occurs and it affects a Massachusetts resident, whoever had the breach has to report it to my office as well as the Attorney General's office. So we've got a lot going on in our office. And even though we've been sort of in a pandemic, I was able to switch pretty easily and do Zoom calls and talk to people in a little bit further distance as opposed to just a long drive. And it's been a nice switch, a little bit different, but it still allows me to get out and speak with consumers and answer questions.
Well, I have to tell you, when I'm looking at 600 lectures in 215 towns and cities, and I'm trying to think, and Pete, you may know the answer to this. How many towns and cities are there in the Commonwealth? Any idea? This would be a good trivia question. We'll have
I think it's 264.
Is that? Oh, wow. Very good, Pete.
Right. About there, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have been almost everywhere. That's really, really impressive. Well, listen, let's jump right into this because, this show is airing all through January and the Christmas season has just passed. So there's a lot of information here that I think will be very interesting to our viewers who have certainly been doing a lot of shopping and may be in a situation where they've got gift cards or certificates or need to resolve some kind of issue with defective merchandise. So, one of the questions I had, and I think you may have just answered that, but how does your office learn of issues that are happening in the retail environment? Is it people by calling in? Is that where you're getting the bulk of your information? It's from people actually calling you live time and saying, hey, this is happening or that's happening?
Yeah, so most of the time it's when a consumer will call the hotline and complain about something. They didn't realize what the return policy was, or the business has gone out of business. So they'll either call our office or they will physically mail us a letter, or they'll email the consumer email line, which is consumer@mass.gov. Very simple. So they have three different avenues, but mostly it's calls, because people, I think, they want to talk to someone when they're complaining about
Right.
something. They don't necessarily want to type something in.
Right.
So the bulk is actually through our hotline.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, listen, let's just jump right in. So I think the first question we can kind of delve into, does Massachusetts have a blanket return policy? What is the return policy here in our Commonwealth?
There is, and this is a little bit challenging for most people to wrap their head around, is that there is no blanket return policy for all goods. The only time a return policy will jump in is if it's defective merchandise. So when you go to a store, you have to the store has to let you know what their policy is prior to checking out. It can't simply be on like the return, your receipt. Usually it's a small disclaimer sticker right before you check out. If you don't see it, I suggest really asking before you purchase something. And especially now that we're kind of out of the holidays, I do know that some stores during the holidays will say, look, we know everybody's giving gifts and maybe your loved one doesn't want this sweater. They only have until the end of February because it's the holidays.
Right.
So make sure to look at the fine print during the holidays. On the flip side, if you ever buy something and it is defective, now generally this only goes for stores that actually sell the product. So for example, you might go to Best Buy and buy a computer. Mm-hmm. But if you go to a restaurant who's going out of business sale, that doesn't apply to them because they don't usually sell computer products. Mm-hmm. So if you buy a product and it's defective, you have three recourses. The entity who sold it to you have to either give you a brand new one, fix it, or give you your money back. Now, if you are having an issue and a retailer is giving you a hard time, you can actually file a formal complaint with the Attorney General's office. They have an easy online portal and very simple form to fill out. If you are not an online person, you can always call the Attorney General's helpline and they can physically have the form sent to you. We don't take complaints against businesses per se. We only take complaints against contractors in Massachusetts who are causing problems. So I think it's perfectly fine to call our office. We will direct you to the right entity that can be helpful. But if you don't want to talk to the Attorney General's office, you can always write a 30-day demand letter. And what that is, if you want an example of the actual template, you can go online to our office. All you have to do is let the business know what the issue is, your name, your address, all of that, what the issue is, what you want back, whether it's a new product, fix it, etc. And then send it through the mail, but make sure that letter has to be signed for so that the business got it, and they have 30 days to respond to your request.
Okay, very, very interesting. I was sitting here thinking about that. Is there real teeth in that? Can you force a retailer to take action and do what they're supposed to do? What is the recourse that you have to make that actually happen?
So our office does not have that jurisdiction. It actually would be the Attorney General's office. Okay. And so when the pandemic hit, actually, there were a couple businesses out there that they changed their return policies or they weren't honoring return policies, and there were a lot of challenging things going on. And the Attorney General's office actually really did step up quite a bit and started to go after businesses who were not being honorable.
Yeah. You think about the fact that, you may have all these policies and laws, but, sometimes it's a big commonwealth. There's a lot of businesses out there. How do you enforce all this going on? Well, that's interesting. So definitely the word to the wise is read the fine print and know what the return policy is as you buy it so that and then make sure that you're if you're not buying this for yourself, that you communicate that to whoever you're giving the gift to. So, another question I have that in the information you sent me, what is truth in advertising? What's that mean?
So, in theory, I mean, it's just it basically means that when they're advertising a product, they have to be truthful. It has to say what it's going to do, what it's made of, all of that. It can't be something to lure you in. And it's sometimes you just have to look at like quantities available while supplies last. So if you see an advertisement, say for, let's just say 24-inch TVs, and they're going on sale for this specific whatever time frame, a lot of your businesses will say while supplies last, because you just never know if, say, like Black Friday, they get completely ambushed and they're sold out in 5 seconds.
Right.
So a lot of our businesses will say while supplies last, or supplies are limited.
Right.
They want to make sure you are aware that, look, we may not have 10,000 TVs, but we only have 300. So this is what's going on, just so that you're in the know, that so you don't go out there and going, well, where are the TVs for sale?
Right.
So that's what it kind of means. You have to be very truthful as to what you're putting out there to the consumers.
And do you find in general that retailers are good that way, that businesses are pretty truthful about what their intentions are and what they really have to offer?
I do believe so. We've only received a handful of complaints, and a lot of times it was a business didn't realize the mistake that they had made, and they immediately changed and fixed things. Most businesses, especially now because of the pandemic, they want to work with you. They want business, so they are going to do whatever they can to be helpful. And I think you as a consumer, if something doesn't feel right, doesn't seem right, go and talk to a manager and say, look, I'm confused about this. Can you help me understand? And in my experience, most managers, they want to make the sale. They want to make you happy, because they know that we have social media, which is
right.
a challenging thing. If you think about it, what happens if you are not treated well by ABC gas station? You're going to go on your Facebook page or tweet out, this gas station was horrible and da 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 da. Now 700 of your friends are going to see that and probably pass it on to somebody else. So a lot of businesses, they know that we have that kind of in our back pocket, and they really want to do business with us. They want to be, if it's a small entity and they're new to the community, they definitely want to make sure that the community is happy.
It's a very interesting point. I hadn't really thought about that, but social media is definitely a game changer. And there's I've seen it used both ways, both positive and negative, and people can create, negative impressions when they're not even deserved. But boy, that's a great point of the fact that businesses are cognizant of the fact that they want to keep their reputation. If they want to stay in business and continue to have a strong following, they're going to do what they can to really take care of their customers. So that's a good point. So I think you almost alluded to it here, but bait and switch, because that kind of comes into the whole truth in advertising side of it as well.
Exactly. So bait and switch, which is illegal in Massachusetts, what it is the business will put out a poster saying, or an advertisement, we've got a 10-inch TV, whatever it may be, and it's fabulous and it's on sale. And then when you come in to buy that on sale 10-inch fabulous TV, they try to dissuade you, and they want to upsell you. Oh, this is actually not a great TV. We're using it to get you in.
Right.
You want this TV. And so that's illegal. They have to, they can't ask you to try to lure you in and then upsell you something else. Now, obviously, if the whatever TV you're looking at is not going to work for you, and they say, hey, what's the space? Maybe you need a bigger TV. Maybe you need something else. Maybe you need a black and white TV. Who knows? But they can't. They're trying to upsell you, basically, and you can't do that.
That's interesting. I was just sitting here thinking about the fact that there must be thousands upon thousands of businesses that are out there in the Commonwealth, and and certainly the whole online shopping side of this, has changed dramatically because of COVID. We've never seen delivery trucks like we've seen that go around all
Right.
the place.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're just everywhere, and I hear that there's even almost a shortage on cardboard now because we've never used cardboard boxes so much. But again, it's got to be hard to keep track of what's going on out there, with these kinds of issues because there are so many businesses. And I got thinking about that. I said, how do the businesses even know what the laws are? Does your office provide them that? Or are they supposed to know? Is just that ignorance of the law is not acceptable? How do business owners actually know what they can or can't do as I'm listening to you?
So if you go onto our website, we have a whole section. It's called Shopping Rights, and it'll just tell you. If you're a new business owner, go look at it. It'll say, "Hey, you can't do this. You can't do that." And I think it would be sort of general good sense. If you're going to be a good business, you're not going to try to lure people in and upsell them something else. I think, you can also probably look at the Secretary of State's website. That's, when you are actually filling out information, legally to have a business and do this and that and the other. I'm sure that they're going to have some information about the do's and don'ts of being a small business here in Massachusetts.
So when you see an advertisement that says savings up to 50% off, and the up to is in very small print, and it makes it look like everything is 50% off, and you may only have one thing that's 50% off, and everything else is like 10 or 15% off. Is that considered? Is that legal? Does that create any kind of issue, or is that okay?
So it says everything's 50% off, or I'm not.
It says savings up to 50% off. Up to, meaning, okay, you're only going to have maybe one item that's 50%,
Right.
but everything else is really more like 10 and 15% off. But you'll have one, but that up to is in very small print. Is the way it's worded, the way it's shown on the screen or in the ad, it makes it look like, oh, the whole store is 50% off, come shop with us.
Sure. So I can't say if it's legal or not. Obviously, I'm not an attorney. But I would say that it's very gray and it doesn't really give the consumer much information. So that's where I would say to any consumer, go and ask the manager and say, what is 50% off? What is 10% off? Because they will have, I've gone into stores, different stores. They said, well, that section's 50% off, but that's only 20. So I think sometimes you really need to be proactive and simply say and ask what is specifically 50, because sometimes you're right. It can be very
right.
The area is gray and you don't. Well, I don't know what's 50% off.
Right.
Is it labeled? Is there a sign? So you have to kind of be your own advocate in times like that, especially if you're not sure or it looks like it's ambiguous.
I think that's a good point of you do have to take some kind of responsibility for yourself and be proactive and know the ground rules when you're going in of just what they're doing and what they're not doing to protect yourself. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So what is an implied warranty?
So warranties in Massachusetts. I always take a little bit of notes because you just never know what you're going to get asked. And I can't know all the warranties, but warranties. So basically, when you purchase something, let's just say it's a computer, it's going to come with the warranty from whomever the manufacturer are. So it's implied. It comes with, say, you bought an Apple Mac, a new Mac. If that Mac dies in 2 days, then obviously the Apple store will reimburse you. They'll figure out what the problem is, and you can go with that. It's an implied general warranty. So it's a promise that you will receive either a repair, a refund, or a brand new whatever the product may be. And it also just makes you. It's a promise to the consumer that whatever you're purchasing is going to be the quality and the condition that is actually represented, say, in the advertisement. And I'm using Apple as an example. They are not a fraudulent company. It's just an example. So when you buy that product, you would assume that It's going to last more than 90 days. It's if you buy the laptop with all the bells and whistles, you're going to assume it's going to come with all the bells and whistles. But if you get it home and then 2 days later you realize there are no bells and whistles, then you need to, the implied warranty kind of kicks in going, hey, I bought this thinking and spending that this machine was going to come with all of this and it's coming with this. So that's where kind of that stands.
Yeah, that's interesting. I see this with car ads, and I've run into this before where, in the newspaper, you'll see they'll put a picture of this model car for sale at such and such a price, and you're looking at it, and you kind of see the style of the wheels and stuff like that. Then when you go in, the car that they have, it looks to me like it's a scaled down car. It's still the same car, but it's cheaper wheels and, doesn't necessarily have what the photograph showed. Is that illegal, or do they say, well, we're just giving you the idea that there's a car, but this is the car that's actually for sale?
Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say if it's legal or not. I would say look at the advertisements. Is there a disclaimer, excuse me, underneath the advertisement, like while supplies last, or this is just a general Ford Mustang? Come in to see what we actually have on site. That's where I would say you can ask the manager saying, hey, I kind of saw this ad. Can you tell me more about this? So if they're not telling you that this was just sort of a mock-up or what it may be, ask the manager. I mean, I have seen that myself. You wonder if that car has been sold the minute it went out to print.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, that's a good point. I think you've kind of touched on this already, but defective merchandise, and certainly following the holiday season, we open our packages, everything's getting delivered now. I would say in most cases, the delivery people have done a great job, but every now and then, things get jostled, things can get dropped, things can come in damaged. And so what is your recourse when you do receive something? And if you didn't get it right from the store, who then owns the responsibility for the damage? Is it the shipper? Is it the retailer?
So there's a very fine line between that. Unfortunately, there have been stores who say, it's your responsibility. We left it up to FedEx. I'm not knocking FedEx. So you need to make sure before you purchase something, let's just say it's through Amazon or it's Macy's or Sears, see what their policy states about that specifically, because you want to make sure that when something arrives, yes, it's going to arrive in good shape. So regarding defective merchandise, that's a little bit different. If it arrives in the box, looks fabulous and doesn't look like it's jostled, and your laptop, works for 2 weeks and then doesn't work for 2 weeks and then it stops working, that's when you say, whoa, a laptop should work much more. But when you're dealing with shipping, you need to make sure, see who holds that policy. Ask Macy's. Now, if something happens because it's UPS or it's FedEx, who's responsible for that? So I just think we have to advocate for ourselves, because there are times when that does happen and the shipper says it's not our fault, and this company says it's not our fault either. So you have to kind of see what the policies are. Unfortunately, a lot of this it's all read the fine print prior to doing this. Make sure you know what's going on. If you find that it's broken and you're really upset with whomever the shipping agent was, you can file a complaint against them and let them know that you're not happy. That's why you have the Attorney General's office. And no one really wants the Attorney General knocking on their door saying, hey, consumers are really upset with you. What's going on?
That's interesting. But if it's truly defective, generally
by law, it's by law. So if it arrives and it doesn't work, whomever sold you that product, again, it has to be a store that actually sells those products, not like a yard sale. They have to either give you your money back, give you a new machine, or repair it, whatever you are comfortable with.
Okay, good advice.
And I
So,
would say if you're going to start sending a lot of things, keep sales receipts for any gifts you're going to give, so that if something ever happens, whomever that gets the gift can say, hey, Auntie Robin, I don't, something doesn't work for this. I'll take the defective device and go get it fixed.
that actually, you know what? That is a great point, which is hang on to those sales receipts. I know I try to make a practice of this when I go out shopping for my wife. Because invariably, especially if I'm selecting a piece of clothing, I know it's going to go back because I've got the wrong size or whatever. But I do make a concerted effort to make sure that I have all those receipts, because it just makes life a lot easier. That's a great point, and that if there was a tip that we could give people, make sure you hang on to those receipts so you've got proof of purchase. If you're giving, so. So this is an interesting question. So if you are giving a gift at Christmas or birthday or just in general, when you're giving a gift to a person, especially if they're some distance away from you, maybe you're attending a birthday party out of state, or you're shipping, you've received it, now you're sending it to them. Should you send the receipt with the item? Should you give the person the receipt so that they have the recourse to follow up if there's a problem? Or is it implied that, well, I'll have the receipt and I'll take care of it, they can get it back to me? But is there any practice around the management of receipts?
I think it might be a personal choice. I tend to, if I'm like you said, going to buy a piece of clothing for somebody and maybe it's the wrong size, I will include a gift receipt so that they can then say, oh my God, she sent me this horrible sweater, I don't like it. Whoever that person is, can go to the store and say, I don't want the sweater, here's the gift receipt, and then you can go forward. I think that makes life a lot easier.
So what is a gift receipt versus a regular receipt?
So usually a gift receipt doesn't tell the gift receiver how much you spent. It just says, oh, Susie Q bought this at this company. And if you don't like it, you can return, and at that point they'll say, oh, she bought the sweater for $25, whatever it may be. So it's kind of an anonymous receipt saying they're not going to tell you the exact amount until you actually bring it back.
So will all retailers do that? Is that a common practice to provide a gift receipt like that?
I don't know if all retailers do that. They should. I don't know if they're going to automatically give it to you. I think it might be asked, especially during holiday seasons, would you like a gift receipt? Or they might ask you, is this a gift? Giving you the opportunity to say, actually, yeah, it is a gift. Why don't we get them a gift receipt so that if something happens or they don't like it or it's the wrong size, they can then return the product.
That is a great idea. And then that takes away the whole issue of, well, they can see how much I spent on it kind of issue. But you could include that with the gift, so that, again, to your point, if they don't really care for the color or the shape or if it's the wrong size, they can go back and kind of get what they want. So that's a great point.
It's great to have those gift receipts, especially if you're going to be giving a gift card. So let's just say you buy a gift card to Amazon, and there have been times when fraudsters have gotten a hold of the security number on the backside of the card, and drained the card before it actually got to whomever the receiver is. So if you have the receipt and whomever is getting the gift says, yeah, Uncle so-and-so, I brought this to Macy's. I went to try to redeem this at Amazon and said it was cleaned out already. You can actually have recourse for yourself and say, no, I have the receipt. And then you can go through whatever Amazon's process. It's just an example, but whatever their process may be.
Right.
I just think a lot of people love to use gift cards for the holidays, which is perfectly fine. Very easy gift. But when you are getting those gift cards, I would order them directly from whomever the entity is. Let's say it's Amazon, Macy's, Target, Walmart, whomever the entity is directly. And I would say, if you're going to go to, I know that there are some big box stores that will have kiosks full of cards. A lot of times, or
Right.
there are times when a fraudster will take a whole chunk of them and they'll write down the 16 digits on the front and they'll get the security code on the back. And then they put them all back and hanging up and you don't realize it. So if you're going to go physically and get one of those cards at a box store, look at the back. Make sure that that security sticker is still there. Make sure it doesn't look like it's tampered with, and compare it to, let's just say you're getting a gift card for, I don't know, a restaurant A. Look at all the other cards for the same restaurant and make sure that that security sticker is exactly the same. That way you know someone has not tampered with that card. And then also, as a giver, make sure that you keep the receipt so that if something does happen, you can then say, nope, I actually paid $50 and this is the receipt. And the whomever got the gift card can still redeem it.
You know what? That's a great point. I have also run into this thing where I bought I say I pay $50 for a gift card and give it to somebody, and then they say, well, gee, thanks for the $25 gift card, when they went to redeem it.
Oh, dear.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I bought. That's not what I paid for. It's supposed to be 50. I see in your notes that gift cards that are purchased in Massachusetts are good for 7 years. So after 7 years, they're null and void. Is that if you haven't lost it after 7 years?
No, I think it's the 7 years. It's going to stay, I don't know, $50. But let's just say after 7 years, you still haven't used it. I do know that there probably are going to be some taxes or fees after the 7 years. But let's just say you used 90% of it, the $50. You can ask let's just say it's a Dunkin' card. If you spent 90% of it, you can ask for the last 10% in cash.
Yeah, is that.
I didn't even know. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's a law. Is that a law that they have to give you the remainder, or is that just a common practice, or?
I believe it actually is a law. I'd have to actually look up which law it is, but yes.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I did not know that because I've always wondered about the fact that with a gift certificate, okay, we need to order more than the gift certificate is worth because, what do we do with the remaining $5 or?
So that's not a gift certificate. That's different. This is a gift card. So gift certificates, they are good forever unless there is an actual date on it that says it's.
Oh, okay. I see the difference.
Yep. So it's like a gift card, like from Dunkin' Donuts or Macy's or Starbucks. It does not include the national ones like Visa or MasterCard. If you get one of their cards, I do believe they do have some taxes if you don't use it, say after 90 days or a whole year, etc. Mm-hmm. But a gift certificate, let's just say you go to a restaurant. So they are good indefinitely unless there's an actual expiration date written on the gift certificate or it's on their website. All gift certificates are good until 10 years or what have you.
Right.
So do look at the fine print. Most of the gift certificates that I've seen lately, they will put an actual expiration date of 5 years or 2 years.
Yeah.
But do look at that so you know that.
Again, look at the fine print, know what you're getting into. That's a great point. I'm sure I am very similar to a lot of people. We receive all these gift cards and we never end up using them. But my wife and I will go through and we say, oh my gosh, that restaurant went out of business, or oh my gosh, we better use this one. We'll have piles of these things and we just never get around to using them. So I've actually gotten in the practice of, I said to my wife, let's just send $50 bill or whatever and tell them you can use this for whatever you want. However, it is not good for the electric bill, the phone bill, or heat bills. It's got to be something fun that you want to do yourself, but just give them the option instead of locking them into a store or gift card, because I get so many of these gift cards that I just never use them. Oh, it's awful.
I think in regards to restaurants, I think be aware that if a restaurant goes out of business, and you have a gift card, it can be very, very difficult, almost impossible to get any money from that.
Right.
So if you're going to give a gift card for a restaurant, just tell everybody, hey, it's a restaurant. Not that I think all restaurants are going out of business, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind.
Use it sooner than later.
Yeah, especially because we are still dealing with a pandemic.
Right.
And you don't know, some stores are closing. So you want to be very cognizant of any store that you're going to get a gift card from.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So what is the cooling off period? What you mentioned that in one of your notes to me, and that
Sure.
totally took me by surprise because I've never heard that before, and I couldn't even begin to figure out what that meant.
Sure. So there are a lot of people out there who say, oh, after 3 days, I don't want this product. I don't want the car. I want to return it. And the cooling off, the 3-day cooling off is very, very specific. It's only for door-to-door sales, credit report services, a gym or a health club membership, or timeshares. Those are the only time. So if you buy a car today and you say, oh, I don't want it in 2 days, you're locked into that legal binding document that you've signed. So it's something you really need to be aware of.
I see. Okay, so you bought it and then you're having second guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So it only applies to door-to-door credit card and service organizations, health clubs, and timeshares. That is interesting. I'd never heard that term before, but it's pretty specific. There's not a wide range of stuff.
It is very specific, yep.
So generally, in most cases, you better know what you're buying and be happy with it, because
Yes.
unless their fine print has said you can come back, you may be stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And then finally, I think this is where we all get into issues of how do you resolve a complaint with a merchant? You know, you've got an issue and now you got to deal with it.
I always start with go and talk to the manager. Talk to the manager, see what they say, see what their options they're giving you. Most managers, they want to work with you. If they are still giving you a hard time, you can write a 30-day demand letter, as we kind of talked about earlier, or you can also file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. In my experience, most people have a better shot when they first just go and talk to the manager. I think sometimes people get a little sheepish and they don't want to physically go and talk to someone. But go and talk to the manager and see what they say. They want to work with you. So I think it's just if you do that, you usually will get a good response.
Yeah, and the other thing is I would say don't go loaded with, a lot of aggressive,
Exactly.
be polite and just explain your situation and just ask them what they can do. Don't go in with an attitude right away. And unfortunately, our country we're tending to move towards the attitude side of things. But, you get, I think, you'll go a long way of, saying, where can we meet in the middle here? How do we resolve this? And, I think if you go in with some common courtesy and not with a lot of animosity, you may have a much greater chance of being successful at what you're trying to do. But that's a great point. And again, I think that for merchants, and I'm sure you would say this, if you're shopping in well-established businesses and stores, they're going to go out of their way to take care of you because they want your return business and they rely on your reputation.
Absolutely.
So, do you have any good horror stories out there that you've had to deal with that you could share, or things that are just off
Sure.
out of the ordinary? Or
I'll use myself as an example. I was out of the country using a national car rental association, and
yes,
before I was trying to come back into the country and return the car. And they said, oh, well, you put all these dings in this car and we're not going to allow you to board the plane. So I had to spend about $500 for dings that were never there.
Is that right?
I sent a tweet to the national website here in the US, and I was trying to be really nice. I said, this is ridiculous. And I just tweeted it out. Got on the plane. 5 hours later, I got a lovely tweet from their headquarters saying, we would love to help you figure this out. How can we help? And can you send a nice tweet afterwards? So they were very helpful. And I retweeted, hey, thank you so much for all of your help. This has been wonderful, etc. So there's your social media working.
That's a great point, and especially with cars, I am familiar with the fact that, yeah, you do get responsible for dings and stuff. It's take a picture of the car. Actually, we all have our cell phones. Our cell phones are everywhere. We don't go anywhere without these things, and the great thing about them is they have a camera built in. Is take a picture to protect yourself with that. That's a great point. Another one that just you happen to make me think of it, and this is a Seinfeld episode that aired many, many years ago. But the whole issue of the reservation. You make the reservation and you go to the car place and they don't have a car. Do you have recourse on that? Airlines do the same thing. They overbook the number of seats that they have, and now you always hear them trying to sell off the seat or give out something. What is the recourse you have if you've got a reservation? What is your recourse if they say, "I'm sorry, we don't have a car," or "There's not a seat on this plane," or whatever it might be?
I'm not 100% sure what your recourse would be. I mean, that's why, as you said, you have your cell phone with an actual receipt of this. That's my 11 o'clock. Make sure you have that on your cell phone to say, hey, I have this. How can you help me get another flight? Get on this flight, rent a car.
Right. Interesting. Well, Robin Putnam, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a very, very interesting interview. Robin is the Research and Special Projects Manager for the Massachusetts Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation. And I think that hopefully our viewers have gotten a lot of tips from this. And the advice I would have to you as I've been listening, save your receipts, get those sales receipts, know what the fine print is, and definitely know what the policy of the merchants are that you're doing business with, so that if you do have a problem, you can go in and deal with it and hopefully have a positive outcome. I do want to issue special thanks to Pete Coles, who is our WCPC Westfield Cable Channel 15 manager, for his help and support to make this show possible. And on behalf of Pete and Tina Gorman, who's the Executive Director of the Westfield Senior Center, I am Harry Rock. This has been another edition of the Westfield Council on Aging Presents on WCPC Westfield Cable Channel 15. Have a great day, everybody.